I can turn it on. Hold on.
How it is. Do it again.
Hello. All right. Welcome, everyone. It's good to see you out on this chilly night. I think there ought to be a rule against people coming out when it's this cold. But welcome. It's good to see you. Make sure you have all your fingers and toes. If you're outside too long, it's called frostbite. Welcome to our Indy Story Slam. Our Story Slam is produced by Freetown Village and Storytelling Arts of Indiana. Now, our slam is sponsored by Maestro Organizing, and WFYI is our media sponsor. Now, there are slips of paper available for you to sign up to tell a story with our theme. And our theme tonight, fireworks. Fireworks. I don't know if there are any fire starters out there, but fireworks. Your story needs to be true. It should be told in the first person. It should not be longer than 5 minutes. Now, you can keep talking if you want to, but after 5 minutes, you're going to have some point deducted. Now, Samantha, raise your hand. She's got the lime green basket. And in that lime green baskets are names of people who want to tell a story about fireworks. I don't really have any stories about fireworks. I don't care for fireworks. You know, you need to be subtle with me, because I remember my brothers lighting firecrackers and throwing them at me while I was in the house. That was not any fun. I also remember going to Gleason Park in Gary, Indiana, to watch the fireworks. As a matter of fact, we didn't have to go that far. We could sit on my Aunt Ruby's front porch and look up and see those fireworks. Or if you ever went to a Cubs game, I went to Wrigley's Field, and if they won the game, there would be fireworks after the game, if they won. Or I'm old enough to have gone to Riverview Park in Chicago. Now, you could only go on certain days if you were black when I was a kid. They opened that up later, but at the end of the night, they had fireworks. And if you were lucky enough to go on a midnight trip to Riverview, honey, if your mama and daddy gave you permission to go, which didn't happen often in my life, okay? But there were fireworks. I remember meeting this guy who was in charge of letting people on and off the ride. It was called the Greyhound. And I was a roller coaster nut. And honey, we had fireworks while we was on that roller coaster. But I have no stories about fireworks, so I hope you have some. Now, you might want to know when our next slam is. It is February 21st at 7 p.m. at Half Liter Barbecue. And the theme is one of my favorites, chocolate. I don't know which comes first, chocolate or alcohol. I think it's chocolate though. Because a day without chocolate is like a day without sunshine. So start thinking of your stories now. But now I want to reach into this lime green basket. And I want to pull out a name. There's so many names to pull out. Now let me warn you there. All those people sitting back there listening, You think you don't have a story about fireworks. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen. Somebody's going to start telling a story and it's going to jog your memory. And when it jogs your memory, you're going to want to get a piece of white paper from Samantha. Samantha, raise your hand. And you want to fill out that paper and you want to make sure that it gets in this lime green basket. And I will pull your name out of this lime green basket so you can tell a story about fireworks. And the first teller tonight is, ooh, this is going to be good, Nancy Fitzgerald Bellery. Did I get your last name right?
Belleberry.
Bellery.
Yes.
Beautiful name.
Thank you.
I'm gonna-
Hello everyone, my name is Nancy, and I don't know about you, but my husband and I are dog people. Now, we have had dogs ever since we were married, and we had a tradition that we would name our dogs after what was going on in our life. So when our kids were in middle school, they were very much into Harry Potter. So we adopted a German Shepherd puppy, and we called her Tonks, after a witch in Harry Potter. Now Tonks, like a lot of German Shepherds, was very much motivated by food. So we knew if she ever escaped, we would just have to run after her with treats in our hand. She was the only dog we ever took on vacation, and I am sure the people at Pokagon State Park got an eyeful when an 80-pound German Shepherd started running down a trail, and my daughter and I chased after her with pizza in her hand, because that was the only thing we had available. Now Tonks, unlike German Shepherds, was a little bit more sensitive. She typically would rather have a tummy rub from a stranger than bark at them. And she slept in our bed at night, and I could always know that if I woke up in the middle of the night worrying, she would reach out a paw and put it on my leg and tell me everything was going to be okay. Now, she got more and more sensitive as she got older, and she was especially sensitive to sound. We knew, starting in June, that we would have to start walking her earlier and earlier in the evening, because if a firework went off, that 80-pound dog would freeze and then bolt, and we would have to take all our energy to rein her back in and get her back into the house. On 4th of July, our tradition as a family was not to see fireworks, but to hunker down in the basement and could protect Tonks and give her as many treats as she wanted to. Now, because she was so sensitive in nature, she did give us an opportunity, and that opportunity was that we decided to adopt a dog that maybe needed a little bit more extra attention and was kind of unadoptable. So the kids were into Marvel Universe at that point, and so we adopted a dog that we called Marvel. Now, Marvel is a little neurotic. She came to us with a thunder shirt on, and she shook all the time when anything new happened to her. But luckily, because Tonks was at her side, within a week or two, her thunder shirt was gone, and she was an integral part of our family. Tonks even shared her treats with her, so we knew she was good. Unfortunately, in April of 2022, we knew something was wrong when Tonks stopped eating. We took her to the vet, and they found out that she did have cancer, but it was fortunately only located in her spleen. So we had that cancer removed, and she was back to her normal self. She was awesome. It was great. And we were very excited because we had just moved down to downtown Indianapolis, and we had downsized, and we wanted Tonks and Marvel to be a part of that adventure. When we got to the new house, the yard was a lot smaller, but there was a big tree in the backyard. And Tonks immediately set herself at the base of that tree and said, "No squirrels are getting in that house." She defended it to the nth degree. But sadly, in June of last year, she stopped eating again. And we took her to the vet, and they confirmed the cancer had returned. And all of you that are dog people know how hard it was for us to make that next decision, which was to put her to sleep, and to call our kids and to tell them that she was gone. Dan and I went and saw fireworks outside for the first time that year, and they were beautiful, but it just didn't seem to be the same without her around. Now, we all grieve Tonks' loss, but marvel most of all, she started pacing in the middle of the night, and she needed to be back on anxiety medicine. And we were like, this is not the life that we want her to lead. So in August, we welcomed a new member of our family. We got a 25-pound dog, Beagle, named Indy after our recent move to Indianapolis. And Indy, the very first week, plopped herself down the base of that tree and made sure no squirrels got in. We got her adoption papers, and we're very pleased to see that Indy and Tonks share the same birthday. I know, it was hard. It was very touching for all of us. And then a couple weeks ago, we found out they had something else in common. On New Year's Eve, a firework went off, and Indy was terrified. So this year, on the 4th of July, we're going to be back to our own tradition. But in Tonks' loving memory, we're going to be comforting Indy and giving her as many treats as she needs.
Thank you so much. Okay. Listen. Dogs do not like fireworks. And neither do I. That's what we have in common. I wish I could think of a fireworks joke. You think about it. A good old dad joke. Okay. Miss Ophelia reminds me that if you get to 4 minutes, she will hold up her phone to let you know that you got a minute left. Now you can keep talking if you want to, but like I say, there will be points deducted. Did you know we have prizes? First, second, and third place prizes. You can win cash money tonight. Or maybe a check, I don't know what it is. But you might want to consider what fireworks story you want to tell. I'm going to reach into this lime green basket. I'm going to pull out another name. I know this is going to be fantastic because our next teller is Chap Flat. Chap, come on down. I knew you had a fireworks story.
That's one of us. Typically bursting several hundred feet up, fireworks can be much farther off or much closer by, gauged from the rooftop of my old apartment building in Detroit. Only about 4 stories up, so not a lot in the big city, but in my neighborhood, not much was taller, and even the utility poles that went through the alley were just about half that high. The birds perched on the wires like level with my 2nd-story window. So if you were up on the roof, you were well above all that stuff, and you'd see the Ambassador Bridge in the middle distance, and then some of the river and downtown. Now, first you had to get on the roof, so up the stairwell at my end of the building, from the top landing, there was a ladder against the wall, led up to a hatch. And just below that, there was a hasp with a padlock. And even looking up from the landing, you might think, am I seeing both pieces of that hasp just screwed to the wall and locked together and all unconnected to the hatch? And sure enough, you would go up the ladder and find it was just that way, so you push the hatch open and go out on the roof. I was up there with my sweetie one very clear night, early '96, to see the comet Hyakutake, that very pretty blue-green one that we had missed its last time through 17,000 years before. So no human hand set that one off. And lots closer, but still not close, any July, the combined Detroit-Windsor Freedom Festival would send up 3 barges worth of fireworks from the river between the 2 downtowns, with the streets all clogged with people, but not my roof. And there was a morning I woke to a racket that sent me straight up to find a bunch of guys stomping around up there, cutting the roof up with these honkin' gasoline-powered saws. Yes, that's how you start a roof repair on that kind of asphalt flat roof. And on my way up the ladder, I'd seen the landlord hadn't given them the key to that padlock. Because when they found it up there, they took a crowbar to it and busted it right off the wall before they pushed the hatch open and went on the roof. It got me thinking that if the landlord invited 3 bids on this roofing job, these guys maybe weren't the high or the middle bid. Now, I watched them up there for a while, hauling these great chunks of roof over to the edge and chucking them down into this dumpster truck that they pulled up in the alley. And then to get out of their way, I went back inside, just sat by my window and watched the birds, trying to make sense of these wires that kept getting twanged by these chunks of roof falling down. And then I stood up and turned around to go do something else, and that's when my room filled with brilliant blue light. And fireworks ought to be farther away. These were right behind my back. I'd just turned to the window, and that was my shadow being flashed on the far wall in this dazzling bright blue in already broad daylight, and then it was all very quiet. Except for one voice coming up from the alley saying, "Is it on my truck?" And that was the driver in the cab of that dumpster truck, and yes, it was. And he had had some good training somewhere, good enough to know if an 11,000 volt line has been dropped on top of your truck and you're in the cab, you're in a much better place than if you try to climb out and set foot on the ground. So he just hung out there and chilled, and everybody waited for Detroit Edison to show up. And the first to arrive was not a crew in a bucket truck, but just one supervisor in his little company car. And he pretty much took in the whole story by the time he stepped out. And you may also have heard verbal fireworks of the kind he had for those guys. So there you have it. As a setting for many kinds of fireworks, it was hard to beat my old Detroit rooftop.
I knew you had one. I knew you had one of those stories, Jeff. Thank you very much. I've been looking for a good joke. I never found one, but I'm gonna tell you one anyway. What do you get when you cross a duck with fireworks? A firecracker. I had to go through a lot of bad ones to get to that one, okay? But never mind, I'm going to research some more. But while I'm working on that, let me pull another name. Ooh, I know this is going to be a good one. Fireworks. Tracy Wynn, come on down.
This story that I'm going to tell tonight is a story that I've told many times because you'll see why. In 1984, there were fireworks. And I don't know if any of you have ever been to New York on the 4th of July, but they closed down the FDR Drive. And so that everybody can come in and watch the Macy's fireworks on the East River. Well, my husband has a friend that lives right there on the East River, Peter Cooper Stuyvesant. And so he always wanted to go there to watch the fireworks. Now, I am 9 months pregnant. I have a 1-year-old because my boys are 12 months and 2 weeks to the day apart. And I did not want to go because I'm not a fireworks person, but he was. So we went to his friend Alex's house and we watched these amazing fireworks, the Macy's fireworks. Out his window, we didn't have to go out into a crowd or anything. We could just stand there and look right out the window and see everything right there on the East River. Okay, my husband had too many, as I call it, dippers from the well. Okay, that's what I call it, too many dippers from the well. And so when the fireworks were over and it was time for us to leave, we needed to try to get back to Brooklyn from Manhattan. And it was a nightmare. People everywhere. I got a stroller, a baby, I'm pregnant. I was so aggravated at him. So when we see police standing on the corner, he's gonna come up and say, my wife is due any minute now. We need a taxi. Can you get us a taxi? My wife's getting ready to have the baby. Well, we didn't get a taxi right then and there. We had to keep looking. The cops looked at him like he was crazy, which he is. And so we finally got a taxi and got back to Brooklyn. Well, as I said, he had too many dippers from the well. And so we're laying there in the bed, put the other baby down. And my husband did something like this and smacked me. And I was like, oh no, you didn't. And so it was accident, of course, because he was half sleeping out of it. So I said, no, you're not gonna get that. So I kicked him. And that kick wasn't good enough. So I kicked him again. Oh Lord, what did I do? Something happened. I felt it. I got up and I went to my mother-in-law because we lived with my mother-in-law at the time. And I went to my mother-in-law, I did something. Something happened. I did something. Something happened. And she said, oh no, it's time for you to go to the hospital. You're in labor, your water. I was crying and everything. She's chasing me around with a pair of panties, trying to get the panties on me because I didn't have any on. Put these on, put these on. Andre, wake up, wake up. She got to go to the hospital. And I said, I kicked him. I don't know what I did. He slapped me. But she said, he didn't mean to slap you. I said, I know, but he did. I kicked him and I kicked him again. And so we ended up having to go to the hospital on the 4th of July after the fireworks, go to the hospital to have my son Sean, who was born at 4:20 a.m. on the 5th of July. And I tell that story, I tell it all the time. I won't even go into details about how he tried to come in for the delivery and didn't quite make it because he had too many dippers from the well. And so he had to go out. But anyway, that is my fireworks story. I've told it many times and I'm telling it to you now.
Too many dips in the well, you said?
Too many dippers from the well.
Too many dippers from the well. That's hilarious. Let me remind you that coming up on February 10th, we have a fantastic program with our own Bob Sander and Nestor Gomez. And they're telling versions of childhood. Now, Bob grew up in Beach Grove, but Nestor grew up in Guatemala before migrating to Chicago. And it says in my notes, illegally. I can't wait to hear that story. So I want you to know that you might want to get online and purchase those tickets because I know it's going to be a great show. Now, have you had your memory cells jogged yet and found another story about fireworks that you might want to tell? Think about it. We got time. But right now, I don't know what this first name is. I don't know if it's Peg Black or Reg Black. Who are you? Peg? Come on, girl, it's your turn. Tell a story. This is going to be a good one. I've heard her before. She's optimistic.
Definitely.
Whatever. Well, after good stories, I don't know whether you qualify this one. I'm going to start out by saying, I never liked fireworks much. I didn't like them when I was a kid. Take the things away, they make too much noise, they raise a ruckus, I don't care if I ever see any anymore. And this probably came about, at least in part, because I had a cousin who loved the things. So I was visiting him once, close to the 4th of July, and I was minding my own business, and what happens? Bam! Scared me half to death, I jumped a foot, and everybody else about cracked up at me. I'm going, thanks a lot, I appreciate that. Not. This was probably when I was about 10, visiting my grandparents and stuff. So, a little later on, when I got interested in more cultural things, I decided I would go to the 4th of July concert. This was when I had moved to Lafayette. And they always played the 1812 overture leading up to the fireworks. Well, it was great. It was starting out, and they were playing the whole thing. Not just that little bit they play at the end, the whole thing. And what's happening? Everybody's talking at the top of their volume. Nobody's paying any attention to music. And that made me annoyed. So I had one strike against the fireworks. So when the cannons came on, I hate those things. And on they came loud, and everybody was quiet. All right, thanks. And the bell, who cares? All these people were interested in was the noise that they were going to get from the guns and the fireworks. That just, not my kind of thing. So, as I got a little older, in fact, it was a lot older, because I met a friend who I wanted to be in my Gilbert and Sullivan show, and he wanted to be in it. So it turns out he was in it. We got to be really good friends, and he loved fireworks. So he said, "You want to come?" I said, "Oh, okay." Didn't want to, but I'll give him another chance. This has been several years. Okay, so I give him a chance. And we go, and he's having a wonderful time. He's just cheering and jumping up and down. They're obnoxious as far as I'm concerned. I don't want to listen. So I just enjoyed him enjoying them. That was good. And then, the movies, this is going to be even later, of The Lord of the Rings came out. And Bilbo has himself a party in that first movie, and Gandalf, the wizard, shoots off fireworks. They're not ordinary fireworks. Dragons and trolls and armies and ships, and oh gosh, what wonderful fireworks. Now, if you do it like that, that'd be fun. Why can't we do that now? I want fireworks, not just a bunch of noise. I wanted to see that. That was just really exciting to me. And I was really getting into exciting things. So as the years went by, what I decided was that what excited me most was Shakespeare. Okay, fine. I'm going to see some Shakespeare. I love that. They don't do enough around our parts. So I decided I'd go to Stratford, Ontario, where they have a Shakespeare festival. And that's the time I started going. The tickets that are lowest price now are more than the highest price at this time. So I went. And one of the most exciting things about the production was that before each production, they had a fanfare. And the fanfare was done on trumpets. Not these little trumpets, big 3-foot trumpets with no valves and banners hanging off of them. We're talking about big. So, that fanfare was great. How great can it be? All right. And after that, we got to see the performance. Henry V, with one of my very favorite actors, Brian Bedford. Brian was just, the best of the best. And even better than the performance, well, almost. When they came out for bows, I had the opportunity to hand him personally a rose. I was close enough to the stage, I could walk down, and I didn't get on the stage, but I handed him a rose. And Brian, while he came up out of his bow and smiled and thanked me, and boy, that made my year. I'm telling you, that was great. So that smile and that performance, well, that's my idea of fireworks.
Thank you so much, Peg. Listen, you might want to know that Freetown Village's next event is February 15th at 6 p.m. at the Indiana Landmark Center, and it is entitled Conversations in Indiana African American History and Culture, and Leon Bates is the presenter. I think Leon just won a humanities grant for some research he was doing. He's a wonderful speaker, has lots of information. You will enjoy that. Now, have your memory cells been charged yet with another story about fireworks? I bet you don't even know where fireworks came from. Do you know that the Chinese invented fireworks? But before that, before gunpowder was invented, they would just take dry bamboo sticks and throw it on fire, and it would hear all this noise, and that was fireworks, just a lot of noise. I bet you didn't know that the most difficult color to produce in fireworks is the color blue. That the one they did first was orange. And I want you to know that if you got a fireworks story, Samantha will bring you a blank slip. You will just put your name, or just put your social security number on it, and we will call you up. But until then, we're going to listen to Noel Bewley's story about fireworks.
So I grew up in the 50s, so this is my fireworks experience from the 50s until now. We had little packets of maybe a pinch of gunpowder that you threw down at your friend's feet and they went pop. We had worms that looked like a little lozenge that you lit and it made the shape of a worm. We had sparklers, the horrible sparklers that your dad brought a coffee can out full of water and you would pretend to write your name as the things went shh like that, and they went out. And you put it there so your dad wouldn't run over it with the lawnmower. And then firecrackers were delivered from Tennessee. You could not get firecrackers in Indianapolis. And my cousins lived 30 miles from Tennessee. So they brought firecrackers to us. And I was 8 and he was 12. And he took one out for me and he said, just take the book of matches, light it, light that fuse, throw that firecracker, watch it pop. Well, I did that. I took that book of matches, lit that match, threw that book of matches and watched it as the firecracker went on my hand. Luckily, back then the firecrackers were so small, it didn't do anything. It just scared the crap out of me. And he made sure that I never got another firecracker from him because my parents weren't pleased about that incident. Well, then I got older and a little more stupid. And we got packs of firecrackers from our cousins here in Tennessee. And we would go back to the woods behind our house, and we would light full packs. We would just take the wrappers off, light the fuse, and throw them down at the ground and watch them just explode as fast as they could. Well, it was expensive to do that, so we went back to one firecracker. But we found Coke bottles. And so we would take her Coke bottle, light the firecracker, drop it in the Coke bottle, and throw it up. And watch it explode and glass rain down upon us. And we survived. Why, I don't know. But then, my parents never took me to a big fireworks display or anything, and I don't know if they had them then or not. Maybe the Twin Air Drive-In had them, but when we went to Twin Air Drive-In, we just dressed in our PJs and went to sleep. We didn't even know there was a movie on. When I had kids, you were expected to take your kids to fireworks. And we did. We packed the car, put the chairs on, got them, parked a half mile from where the fireworks were going off, started to walk. And my daughter started screaming because she heard a firework. And we went back and we watched the fireworks from the slide platform in the park, a mile away from the fireworks. Enjoyed that for a few years, and then they got older. They could go to fireworks displays. Still wasn't that fond of it myself, but we went to Bar Harbor, Maine, and they were having a 4th of July celebration. Wanted to go, and we put our blanket down. The fog got thicker. The fireworks went up, exploded, muted sounds, the most beautiful fireworks display I've ever seen. Muted lights. You looked like you were looking at the Northern Lights over and over and over again with music. And so I'm trying to go to San Francisco the next time they have a big fog on 4th of July so I can see my kind of fireworks. Thank you.
Thank you. Fireworks. I've seen good fireworks sitting at Lake Michigan watching over at Chicago as they set off fireworks. But I'm still not a fan. I've been to Disney World and watched them set off fireworks. And they look good, but I'm still not a fan. But if there's anybody else here who has another fireworks story, convince me. Anybody? You don't have a fireworks story? You look like you set off fireworks when you were a kid. I know you got a story. Come on up here.
My name's Mark Curry, and I do have stories. I didn't really think I had any till I got here, so maybe I shouldn't have had that here. I don't know. But to me, fireworks, I kind of think of fireworks as a journey. I can remember my first fireworks. I must have been 6. This would have been the early 60s. And my dad drove us out in his old Chevy up on a hill overlooking a drive-in. And we were going to watch the fireworks. And the fireworks started going off, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then all of a sudden, pieces of the fireworks started falling on our car. We had parked in the wrong location. So I went back in the car and I watched the rest of the fireworks through the car glass and listened to the pieces of fireworks land on the car. And that's my first memory of fireworks. Of course, like she said, I was a child of the 60s, and fireworks were pretty handy. Black cats, bottle rockets, Roman candles, you name it. We went through it. We even made a few in a row. We blew up a stump once. I was pretty proud of that. But as I got older, fireworks began to take on a new meaning, the celebration of the New Year, and of course commemorating our independence. And the fireworks represent at Independence Day what it was like to be at a battle or near a battle. And I always tried to figure out, is that what the battle sounded like? How scary that would have been, thinking that battle was that close. And anyway, I ended up joining the Air Force, went to Korea, and we had some nice fireworks there. And then came back and got married, and my wife got a job that took us to Washington, D.C. had some kids then in strollers. We had one family come out and they had kids in strollers, and we went to see the fireworks on the 4th of July on the mall. And if you're ever out that way, I highly recommend it. And I recommend you sit closer to the Capitol building because that's where they put the cannon for the 1812 overture. And that will wake you up. And that woke up our little ones. Well, we had to come to them, but boy, that was worth every minute. Well, this job then took us overseas, and we went back to Korea. And you know, in Korea, when they celebrate the New Year, they have a lot of fireworks. They also have this bell. And I mean, this bell is bigger than one of these tables. It takes like 6, 8 people, grown men, and they take this big old log, and they just ram that up against the bell, and it rings all through the town, and you know the New Year's coming when you hear that. Let's see here. Oh. After that, we went to Brazil, and in Brazil, we celebrated on the beach, and it was low tide when we all started. And they set up the fireworks, and we all were sitting there drinking our drinks and eating our raisins, because that's what you do at New Year's. In Brazil, you each have a raisin for each month. Well, the tide started to come in. And the closer it gets to midnight, the higher up the tide gets. And we're all kind of backing up, and pretty soon the beach is about this wide. And the fireworks are right over there. And yeah, they set them off, and we just ran the other direction. Because that was pretty loud and dangerous. And in fact, a few people got hurt that day. See, then we went to Jamaica. You know, on their New Year's, because at the time were very quiet. They just like to think about it. They didn't really celebrate, so no fireworks. And then we went to China, and just like you were talking about, those are some fireworks. They had dragons. One time they even spelled out the year. I think it was like 2012. They spelled it out with fireworks. I couldn't believe it. They were bound fireworks off the water. It was amazing. Well, this last New Year's, I went to visit my son who's in the military. He's posted at Trusted on Honolulu, the Pink Palace. And so we went up on a hill to overlook the fireworks in Honolulu. And there was really nice wide view of the city, all lit up with lights. And I'll tell you what, those people really put on a show. It was just kaboom, 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 kaboom. And my granddaughters were there, 9 and 5, and they were running through the grass and having a good old time. And I figured they're starting out on their journey, and I'm in it on mine.
Thank you, Mark. Now, I knew you had a fireworks story. Is there somebody else out there with a fireworks story? I know you got one. Yes, and I remember a friend of mine. I tried to get his wife to show up here tonight, but she punked out. She didn't come. But I remember that he loved fireworks, and his friends loved fireworks, and he never grew up. And the big thing was that they traveled all over. If they go back from Florida, they stopped everywhere they could to buy fireworks, because you couldn't buy them in Indiana. And then he would set off this huge fireworks display outside his fence at the end of a dead-end road. And we would sit there, and there would be so much debris left after the fireworks that you have to get a push broom to sweep it all up. And I remember coming back from an overpass watching the fireworks here in Indianapolis, and the smoke was so thick. You think a bomb had gone off, but it was just the aftermath of all the fireworks. And that was a sight to behold, but it was nothing compared to what Elmer did in his backyard. But right now, I've got a story from Samantha Powell. Samantha, come on down.
So back in 2013, I met my soulmate, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because I met my now husband in 2011. So my soulmate that I'm referring to is my 20-pound parent terrier who has a very strong resemblance to Toto from The Wizard of Oz, with a little extra meat on his bones. Now, despite his small size, his name is Thor. He came with his name. When I had seen his picture, I had messaged someone about possibly adopting a puppy. They said, we also have the father available, and sent me this. And I just could not say no to this opportunity. My husband said, we have to wait till we'll have a place of our own. And I said, okay, fine. One day after we moved in to our new house, my husband and I drove about an hour north to check out this dog. The whole way there, my husband told me, now, if this isn't the dog, that's okay. We don't have to get this dog. This doesn't have to be the dog. We can still get a dog. The second we walked up to the house, this little face comes and pops up and puts his paws up on the fence, and my husband says, ah, crap, we're getting a dog today. And he was right. It was love at first sight. Thor is my everything. He was our ring bearer at our wedding, and surprisingly, the best behaved person in the church that day, a creature. Anytime I'm upset or frustrated, he is by my side, licking my face. He truly is my soulmate. So when I say that, my husband rolls his eyes and just accepts the fact that that's the way things are. Now, it was this past New Year's, and I'm now a mother, and which means on New Year's, I don't know if you guys know this secret, you can do a ball drop at 7:30 and be home in your PJs by 8. It's amazing when you have kids. So there I am on the couch, it's 8:30-ish, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to rock it, just lay there and binge watch Netflix until midnight, and all of a sudden I hear, pew! Thing about Thor is he's terrified of fireworks. Pretty common with most dogs, so I'm not a huge fireworks fan. I have no problem sitting next to him and comforting him throughout the night, petting him as he shakes and he pants, TV full blast. So then my first reaction as a parent though, is I hear that noise and I think, and I listen for a cry upstairs, thinking this is going to wake my daughter. And then I hear another one, pew! I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to get up, aren't I? We're gonna do bedtime again, this is gonna be a thing. So I'm getting kind of frustrated and I'm getting kind of angry. And no cries. I think, okay, we're in the clear. But then it dawns on me, Thor, someone that I've spent comforting all these years, every 4th of July, New Year's, random fireworks throughout the years, he doesn't budge. He doesn't move, he's not shaking, he's not panting. And at first I'm relieved. My baby's still sleeping, and my other baby is okay too. Until I realized Thor turns 11 this year. And the reason he's not shaking, the reason he's not panting like usual is he can't hear them like he used to. So while all those times I was, a little bit, angry at the neighbors for blowing off fireworks and scaring my little guy, or all those times my heart broke to watch him, I realize now I just kind of have to cherish the time I have with him, because although he'll forever be my little man, he's still getting to be an old one too.
That was great. Thank you, Samantha. Did that bring a tear to your eye? I know some of you thinking about another fireworks story you could possibly tell. Now, there's still time. But until then, we're going to listen to Renee Erler. Hey, Renee.
Okay, I wasn't planning on telling a story tonight, so bear with me. But a lot of this all made me think about a good fireworks story. It's a fireworks story, but it's also a story about my grandfather, who I knew as Papa, but he was also Big Daddy by the boys in the neighborhood, or Larry the Plumber. And I grew up, we were in Rocky Ripple, and I don't know if you know about Rocky Ripple, but they call us the River Rats, and we're our own special community. Better than Ravenswood, just so you know. Those are arch enemies. But every year, in end of June, my grandpa would take me and we'd make a trip in his Cadillac across the border into Ohio to purchase bottle rockets. And we purchased a lot of bottle rockets because there was this tradition in Rocky River to have bottle rocket wars. And I don't know how they picked a day. I was never there. They didn't have meetings or anything, but just like all of a sudden, it was bottle rocket war day. So the great thing about it is that my grandfather was a plumber, and plumbers have a lot of PVC pipes laying around. So he was able to fashion basically rocket launchers out of PVC pipes. And so he'd make that trip, and he was so cool. He'd always wear these jeans and a white t-shirt, V-neck t-shirt, and had these big muscles. That's why I got he was Papa, because when I was a kid, I thought he looked like Popeye. And we'd stop at the gas station, and all the guys would come look at this Cadillac because it was a really nice car. And I'd just look at him and I'm like, damn, my grandpa is cool, you know? So we'd get to bottle rocket night, and me and my little brother always helped him. And there was this tree that we used, and it was a climbing tree. It was a tree that when you're playing war, that's where the snipers would go, you know? But on bottle rocket night, that was Papa's tree. And he'd be up in the tree, we'd be holding the bottle rockets and, you know, whatever we could do. And he'd have his rocket launcher, and he'd have the Finnerans over here, and the Metzgers over there, and the twins, I can't remember their names, over there, and several other families who were participating. And they really just shot rockets at everybody's houses until they ran out. And you'd see who could go the farthest or who could get, you know, whatever. Maybe shooting at Tony Metzger, and then you see like something start on fire on the top of their roof, you know. And but we had to look out for the police also. So my papa would see a car, and he'd just yell and be like, "It's the goddamn police, go!" And my brother, we'd all run, and we'd run into the house, and then we'd get down on the ground. They had this huge window, and we'd get down on the ground and we'd like, poke our heads up, you know. And I don't even think they were really cops. I think my grandpa was just trying to make things fun, you know? So everything, we'd run in, and then we'd like poke our heads up, like, yeah, we're good, we got him, let's go back out, you know? And we start shooting all the other houses again. One time though, it was actually a cop, and apparently Mr. Joe Finneran wasn't paying attention because he was out there with his own rocket launcher, like in the front yard, and the cops came over and lights on and everything. And we're just like watching, like, oh my God, like it's the release. But turns out Joe was a fireman, so he had connections. So it was all good. But those times are some of the most special times for me. And now actually live across the street from that house. My mom lives there. And the tree has been cut down. And there's no more bottle rocket wars. And my grandfather's been gone for, I think, 9 years now. But I still, every year, think about that and think about him. And I'm just really grateful for those times with him. That's it.
That's great. Thank you, Renee. Listen, if you come hear Bob Sanders on February 10th, you know, he's a Rocky Ripple resident. I just can't imagine shooting bottle rockets at each other. But that's pretty cool. I've never been in a neighborhood where we had actual family feuds, you know. Is there anybody else out here who's got a fireworks story? Nothing. You ever set a fireworks off in your life? Me neither. I can believe that. How about that little puppy dog down there? You think that puppy dog got a fireworks story right there? That's a cute little puppy dog. Somehow, the puppy dog knows what I'm talking about. I can tell. Listen. Come on. We got another teller, Samantha. Not Samantha. Shannon.
The other one, I'm Shannon Sampson. I have a quick story. My cousin Kitchi, that's her name. She's Irish girl. She looks a lot like me. She's only a year older than me. Her name is Kathleen, and she's always like Kitchi, which leads people to say things like, I didn't know you had a Japanese cousin, but that's her nickname. And she got married, it's been like 15 years ago. And she had a rockin' wedding, and she had a DJ, and her brother wore a kilt. And we're like, why are you wearing a kilt? And he said, why not? And we're like, yeah. And they're gonna have fireworks. That's a big deal at a wedding, right? Wow. They have fireworks. This wedding is elegant, right? They got some of my cousins, her brother's friends, to handle the fireworks in the back parking lot of the reception hall. So, you know, we're dancing and we don't even want to get off the dance floor, my sisters and I. And we're having such a good time, and they say, no, it's time for the fireworks. So we go out there and we watch them. Ooh, ah. Okay, can we go back in now and get our drinks, right? So we're all back there dancing. I mean, just really dangerous on the dance floor, working up a sweat. And we're dancing, and all of a sudden there's this stench in the air. And I'm trying to figure out what smell it is. I can't put my finger on it. And so, you know, we're dancing and we're trying to ignore it. And my uncle's dancing by me, and he goes, hey, did you fart? And I go, no. Sniffing their armpits, they're like, sniff me, like, what's happening? And then we just went out and everyone tried to ignore it and we couldn't. The smell was emanating everywhere. It was a thick cloud of stink in the reception hall. And no one could figure it out, and we were all pointing fingers. Well, come to find out, these amateur fireworks technicians had accidentally lit the box of fireworks on fire, and they grabbed a bucket that was sitting outside of the kitchen, and it was full of fish guts. And so when they put it on there, all the smoke now is getting on everyone's clothes, and then when they go back in and sweat, they're releasing more fish gut smell to the lovely wedding. And so, yeah, that wedding was memorable, not for the fireworks or the kilt or the lovely couple, but for the fish smell.
But think about it when they have their anniversary. Can they recreate that odor? Is there anybody else with a fireworks? No fireworks? I'm just so disappointed in y'all. But you know, you might have seen these yellow forms on your tape, and you might want to blow them off thinking, I'm not filling that out. They're not getting my information. Well, it is not a scam. If you complete that form, we will put you in a drawing, and you might win complimentary tickets to a function given by Storytelling Arts. We got a lot of stuff coming up. I already told you about Bob Sanders on February 10th, called Versions of Childhood. Does that count for Freetown Village too? But you do want to go to Leon Bates on February 15th, who will be having conversations in Indiana, African American history and culture. Let me remind you that our next slam is February 21st at 7 p.m. at Half Liter Barbecue. And the theme is chocolate. Let me tell you one more time. Chocolate. Let me tell you a story about chocolate right now. My niece went to Europe for Christmas. And wherever she goes, she travels a lot. I just send her a one-word text, coffee, when she's in Costa Rica. But if she's in Europe, I say chocolate. And she bought me some chocolate from Brussels and from France. And I would like to say to you that I savor each and every piece over a course of 2 or 3 weeks. But look at me, you know I ate it right then and there. I tried to pace myself but it was G-O-O-D. And I'm gonna try not to tell that story next month, but I love me some jogging. Now, just in case you don't remember, February 21st is our next gathering at Half Liter Barbecue. At any rate, we are so glad that you are here tonight. I'd like to thank our judges. I'd like to thank our timekeepers. I'd like to thank our scorekeepers. And I really would like to thank our tellers. But we're going to collect those lovely golden sheets of paper so we can have a drawing. I don't have any more fireworks stories to tell you tonight.
Shut up. You have one?
You know, we used to think that the sparklers were not dangerous, but if you stick them on somebody's arm after they've gone out, you will feel the burn. But right now, our winners are, and we'd like to take a picture. Our third place winner is that lovely Renee. Renee, come on up. Congratulations. Our second place winner is that fantastic Noel. Come on up. And our first place winner is that lovely Tracy. Come on up. And we're going to take your pictures before you go. Congratulations. Thank you very much. The stories were hilarious. Samantha's going to take Shannon's going to take your picture. We are going to have the drawing for our tickets next. Congratulations. Renee, aren't you glad you told?
I am glad. That was fun.
It's not hard. I just don't have any fireworks story because I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get them, okay? But we're gonna have a drawing. If you have a yellow slip that you want to put in our lime basket, we will have a drawing for flex tickets. What is your dog's name? Charlie? Hey, Charlie.